I'd like to talk about posture today. Posture is super important. A lot of us are trying to find that optimal alignment, and plus it can really help with alleviating symptoms of pelvic organ prolapse and urinary incontinence. So I'd like to go about it today by bringing us down to the floor, where we're going to work on supine mountain pose. So find a space on the floor where you can place your feet against the wall. And here against the wall, I invite you to find your mountain pose feet. So finding those 3 points of contact underneath the big toe mound, the pinky toe mound, and through the heels. Allow the toes to lift and spread. And as you find that engagement into the wall, you'll find the engagement moving up through the legs. Now check in with your pelvis. Make a triangle with your fingers so that your thumbs and your first fingers are joined together. The index finger should join right above the pubic bone, and the heels of the hands should be right above your hip points. And ideally, what you're looking for is the plane formed by this triangle should be parallel to the floor. And then it would indicate that your pelvis is in what's called a neutral position, so that your back is not too arched, which would lift your thumbs forward higher toward the ceiling, or that your back isn't too flattened and that your bottom's not tucked, which would indicate that your index fingers would be moving more toward the ceiling. By finding that neutral pelvis, we're finding the optimal amount of spinal curvature in our low backs, and also allowing for a small bit of engagement of our core muscles, which again can help us to maintain optimal pressure and support for our low back and for our abdomen and for our pelvic organs. Now moving upward, we want to check in with our rib cage. And sometimes in an effort to get the shoulders down to the floor, we tend to, it's called flare the ribs. By thrusting the chest down, we thrust the ribs up. And what this does is it changes the line, the orientation between the respiratory diaphragm and the pelvic diaphragm. When they're not parallel with each other, they don't work as effectively together. So what we want to actually do is think about bringing the rib cage down so that it's in line with the line of the pelvis. So again, as the pelvis is neutral, so should too the rib cage be neutral. So you can kind of wrap your hands around your ribs and find, are they elevated up or are they in this neutral position? And then moving up towards the shoulders, again, when we find the rib cage comes down into that neutral position, we might find that our shoulders are up. So instead of trying to mash them down toward the floor, think about sliding, spreading the collarbones away from each other and letting the shoulders kind of melt in towards the floor, shoulder blades melting in towards each other instead of trying to lift and press. By pressing, you might be thrusting at the ribs. So just allow them to melt in towards the floor. And then last but not least, the head. We might notice by trying to get the head down, we're either tucking the chin or maybe we're lifting the chin up. Ideally, we'd like for the back of the head to be contacting the floor. And with the back of the head contacting the floor, we do what's called a little bit of a retraction, where we press the back of the head in more towards the floor to bring the chin back towards the floor as well. And what that does, it kind of elongates and decompresses the spine. And last but not least, bringing the arms down with the palms toward the ceiling and allowing ourselves to integrate in this new posture. Take 2 deep breaths. And of course, you can stay here as long as you like, but I'm going to gently roll myself to the side and make my way back up into sitting. I encourage you to spend as much time as you'd like in this position investigating how it feels in your body. And by all means, each person is different. So what I provide for you are suggestions. If you're finding that things don't feel right to you or are too much of a strain rather than just an engagement or a warmth of using muscles you haven't been using, if it feels more painful than an elongation, then I invite you to take a break, use props if you need to. For some people, their head is so forward that it's hard to get the head actually to reach the floor. If that's the case, then use a small pillow or blanket underneath you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I encourage you to use this and then stand and notice if you feel any different in standing. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.